All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lion Bolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else, and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and featured titan for episode 259, all the way from Northern Virginia, none other than Kim Barber. Kim, it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Greg. I'm excited to jump on the journey with you. So thank you.
This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to go through the series of questions. Kim, really everybody out there in the Titan Nation get to know you, what drives and motivates you, and your path in your career up until today, and any advice that you give. So let's just start with the first portion of this, Kim, is for anybody out there who doesn't know you, who are you, where you're from, what got you into the business, and kind of what's your progression and your journey to today?
Right. So basically, Kim Barber. I do live in Northern Virginia. And, I jumped into real estate, in 2004, and I came from a technology career. So I did that. I was total behind this blonde hair is a secret geek, technology geek. So
Love it.
And that was really fun. Actually, it was very advanced stuff, creating things like voice over IP on the literal side. So I was really a geek early in my life. I jumped into real estate 2004, following my second passion. And, wasn't really sure if it was the way I wanted to go. 9/11 happened, and then the software industry got crushed, technology. So my family's owned construction. I'm like, I'm going to go here. I had already bought like 4 homes, 30 years old. And so, here I am. And it's taken off ever since.
Kim, and that's incredible. And I need to applaud you for the nerdiness and or geekiness that you describe. I have a massive passion for anybody who's analytical, can break things down on a technical basis. Obviously, that has served you so well throughout your career paths, really just having that mind and focus to build and scale. I want to peel back a little bit more. So initially, what was your thought with real estate in the first place? Obviously, having a technical background, most of the time that's a different, opportunity into real estate. So what was the thought? Like, why in the first place back in 2004?
Right. Yeah. And, and so part of it was I basically, I mentioned I had bought like 4 homes by the time I was making the shift. Right. Yeah. And so at that time in my life, I was watching my real estate agents, and I was working in the consulting business at that stage. So, basically, and I'm going to do this as we're talking.
Okay.
I'm going to stand up. Luckily, I've got one of those fancy desks that go up and down, because I'm like, okay, I talk with my hands. And so like, I'm not Italian, but it's like me. I'm like, okay.
I do too. And just in case if you're listening to this after the fact and not the live, so Kim has one of those automatic desks. Is it Veridesk, or, they've got a couple different versions of it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Very cool. Great for the circulation. It's good.
Oh my gosh. It's great. It's great. I have like 4 of them for my office. So I'm just like, stand up when you talk, like you have more energy, you have more vibe, when you're, even if you're through the phone. So so basically what happened was, I came from the construction. My family owns construction. We actually, in my current life, even own also a Class A company. And so I was working also in that phase. I real estate, technology consulting in the tech background. You start out with requirements analysis and goals and, this whole process, right? I'm very process oriented, and to totally geek out, I actually have a double major in decision science and management information.
Wow. Love it.
System. So like, genuinely came from this step by step. And I was watching 2 things at the same time. The quality of service, like that consultant mindset and behavior that I was getting or not getting from the agents that I had hired or, I was working with at the time. Yeah. And then their knowledge of the products that they were selling. So both of them, I felt like were not as, like, if I know more about the houses than the people that are getting paid a lot of money to do, I find that to be a bit of an issue. Right.
Agreed.
And
yes.
So, yeah. So, so And to be honest with you, I'm like between standing up and that, like, I don't know if I lost complete control of the question.
Oh,
So,
no. You're on it right away. So kind of what was the main decision? And obviously looking at it for the 4 properties and the individuals that you work with,
right.
you knowing more and you feeling the understanding of that customer service and experience all the way through and through analytically, you could probably do a better job. Is that kind of why?
Right.
I mean, what sparked
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. I mean, it was that 2003 era. Right. And so when, like, I dropped the thing about like when 9/11 happened. So I was going through these experiences. I bought my first home at age 27 and I was watching, these things, and I bought my next one a couple years later. And then, I started on this progression. So by the time it was coming into 2004, I was on my 4th home. All right. So, at that same time, I was hitting glass ceilings in the technology industry. So as a female, I'm a very transparent, honest person.
Love it.
As a female who's blonde, there's a lot of judgment and also glass ceilings that would happen. So I guess that's the third thing. So I was watching my agents. I was running into glass ceilings. I still had a very good career, right? But then also when 9/11 happened, there was like this, it was that big boom, right? So real estate had it later in like 7, right? Software had it after that. It was like, and so I was going through all the major layoffs. So there was a transition time at which, I eventually was in the 4th round of, we can't afford you anymore, right? And so I'm like, what am I going to do next? And I had an entrepreneur spirit already, I think, if we're familiar with that word. And I actually had my first company, now that I think about it, I was like age 18. I went from technology, took a break. And that's when I did cleaning. Like I had a cleaning service when no cleaning services existed. And then there was a recession then too. That was in like 1989 through like 92. Remember, there was a housing. So I was like expendable. And then I had a daughter young. So I went into corporate to have stability, to have benefits, to have structure. And then now she was like, I don't know, whatever age she was, like 15, let's just call it that. And so I'm like, okay, my industry is kind of going through a downturn. I can do this. I have a different approach. I think I could do it, add a new layer of quality service. And then, and it was something that I knew about. Like I had already been buying homes, investing. I knew construction. I knew homes. And so I'm like, I'll just try this. Right. And then I jumped in and then I flipped a home. So the 4th house that I bought, I flipped it, and that funded my career change. I sold it in a day.
Unreal.
So yeah.
I love the backstory. And that's kind of what's beautiful about it is everybody has such a different perspective. And so what got them into the business, and there's not a one size fits all. Obviously you doing amazing things, in your career and, helping over 800 families and hitting all these different records and blowing through and top 1%. And I mean, there's the accolades go on and on, but I think so from that point to, I want to get, I guess, the evolution into the coaching and training space. I just want to talk about your progression through your real estate career, how you grew, what you saw change over that time frame from 2004 until, kind of making a transition into coaching, training.
Right. Yeah. And for the record, I do still sell.
Love it. Yep.
Right. I do still sell. I was at a home inspection earlier, and I don't, awesome. Sometimes I send my, I don't want to say that, but sometimes my agents on my team, they go for me, because I only work with buyers that are people that are really close with me. This particular one had some structural issues. So they wanted me to be there. And yesterday the seller wouldn't let us in. So we had to go today. All right. So I do still sell, but it is not something that I'm going to do anyway. You get my point.
Sure. All right. Oh yeah, for sure.
So that being said, for me, I started in 2004 and I jumped in. I knew, quite honestly, I joined another person's team and I was there for 8 months. I knew a ton about consulting, and I knew how to build a company. The last place I worked in my technology, I helped grow that company to 1,000 people. I was one of the founders, right? And so I knew that, but I was like, I don't know the product. like I knew enough, and I didn't know what to say.
Sure.
Right. So I joined a team, got that information, and then I left that team. And then I went with Mike Ferry as my coach. So Mike Ferry, it's all about scripts. What do you say? Hard nose down, And so I built my career on people I knew, Geographic Farm I started, and expireds.
Love that.
And I crushed it with those. I was on the phones for like 3 hours every single morning. I role played for 30 minutes every single day. I would call later in the evening. Then I made I think like $375,000 in the first couple of years. So I'm like, well, okay, this is cool. Well, remember that was 2004, right? The industry was like this, but there were still houses that were expiring, which, you thought everything flew off the shelf, but they didn't. And then the market started taking a downturn.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and then 07 happened. So I was doing really well. I mean, I was doing quite well. And then 07, everything started to foreclose and the bank owned homes started to happen. So, the book, when the cheese moves, you move with the cheese. So I pivoted. And then I jumped into the REO space, and then I was going to all the conferences, meeting all of these great agents. Wow. And then I was pushing 100 deals a year as a solo agent with 5 assistants. So I would not do that again. Yeah. If I could keep my neck above water long enough, and I was at an odd place in my life, in my personal life, that I would have brought on, of course, more buyer agents, right? And stuff like that. But it was a lot of that was property management. And so that though really, accelerated. And then that dried up, right? When did that dry up again? Like 13?
Was it 13, 14?
13, 14. Yeah.
In that time frame?
Yeah, I think it was 13, 14. And then I remember looking at my profit margin. Now, the first few years of my profit margin were like this. And then you went into the bank owned, and then it started to be like this, right? They started squeezing you, and money was leaking everywhere. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I realized also I was the market was shifting. My sphere was starting to sell and buy again, and I built more. And so I'm like, I'm going to work on my sphere more. I'm going to go back to more traditional sales. And literally I cut out I phased out of that, 2 years, because people were like, don't leave us. And I'm like, I'm leaving you. I'm leaving you. My staff hates doing broker BPOs, right? We're done. Yep. And then, but that was a big shift for me because the market shifted again, and I just was burnt. I was totally burnt out. I'd gotten down to 10% profit margin. Nice. And I was working 80 hours a week. And that's not good, right? That's not good. So I cut out 50 deals a year and made more money. My bottom line was more money. And I'm like, okay, redo. And so that's when I started building a small team. And that was really fun, right? I started connecting with people and not asset managers. I mean, I love my asset managers. It got me through a difficult time. But then I built up to a team of 6, and that was really nice because it steals a lot of your time. But if you really want to scale, you have to add people. And then, so we just kept moving forward and crushing it until about 2018. Money was just, everything was closing. It was doing great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to pause on that too, Kim, because you gave us so much backstory again, which is fantastic. And what I love about the perspective there for anybody who's tuning in with us now live or after the fact is you've seen so many shifts in your career, and having to reposition or reinvent or really look at it from a different perspective and go after it is really a massive part of business. And for anybody to think that they're just going to do one thing and it's going to stay that way for their entire career, they're sorely mistaken. I think that having to reinvent and reposition is crucial. Kind of just going with the flow, is huge. But I love the fact that you were really able to play to the strengths, identify when the right time for you was. It's unfortunate to hear, kind of burning it at both ends in those 80-hour plus work weeks and, being burned. So many top tier professionals that they get to that point. And it's unfortunate. But I've heard it time and time again, is really learning from that experience, setting yourself up. It's kind of hindsight is 2020 sort of thing. But you wouldn't be the person you are today without going through that. So a
100%.
part of it is crucial. So it's no regret sort of scenario. But I think that ultimately, what was the passion that was driven, Kim? Obviously, you hitting the goals and building the team and doing the numbers that you're doing. What was the initial thought of sharing that knowledge past your clientele, past your initial team, and out to the world as a coach, a trainer, a mentor?
Right.
What did that look like from the beginning?
Right. Yeah. So in the story that I was just sharing, I said until 2018. Right. And so to share a little bit about what happened then
Yes,
is part of the answer of what you've just asked me. And so, and then for anybody that's listening also, I mean, and this is going to start to, not be spaghetti, but this is going to kind of intertwine. We all have our life experiences, right? So I'm going to share one in a minute, but what was going on with me then? Why did I work 80 hours a week? That was a choice that I made. And it was a difficult choice that I made. But at that time, at the beginning, in that era, I also went through a divorce. And that divorce was very expensive for me. And the glory of being in sales, no matter if it's real estate or any sales position, is that we have the ability to create our own lifestyle. Right. So I knew that if I hustled and I worked hard for a certain number of years, I could get rid of all that debt much faster than if I just went here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So I had this thing I had to deal with, and I'm like, I'm going to crush it as hard as I can for 3 years. And then I was done with that. Right. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. Right. And I would say that, there's not that many careers that you can just decide I'm going to work harder, I'm going to do things, and then move past something in life. Right. Yeah. And so to that point, so everything was working on all 4 cylinders, or in that case, it was 8. And I probably had like twin block 450 diesel turbos,
Love it.
That's just what's up. But so in 2018, as part of why did I go into this coaching, of course, when I have a team of 6, I'm already coaching, right? I'm already teaching and coaching. And I had been doing this in my technology career when I built like customer service, when I built, I had 85 relationships with selling our software. I was constantly building relationships and stuff like that. Yeah. But then what happened starting in 2016 up until more recently is I had some major health things that hit me. So the 3 major health things that hit me started in 16, and then I was on the path to make $1 million a year coming into 18, and then this right arm stopped working, literally. So we could write a book, or maybe not a book. We could write a paper on why, but there is no answer why. So we won't go down that path. I'm a phenomena, but coming into this era, I got frustrated also with, I was dumping all these leads into my CRM system, like 190 leads a month to fill, to my agents to close. And I built a CRM system that was better. Like I couldn't find a good system compared to what I could use in technology. Right. And I'm like, there needs to be something better to manage all of this. And so all of this was happening in tandem, right? So I'm building software, I'm closing a lot of business, I'm running my team, and then my arm stops working. And people actually wanted me to take that CRM and build it into a tangible product, big names, I'm not going to name them, but they were ready to hand me millions of dollars. Wow. It screamed at me, I'm Christian, it screamed at me, do not do this. Like to me, the Holy Spirit said, no. Okay. All right. So the arm stopped working. Then I was trying to manage my team, right? Life happens. And then what happened after that, about 3 years, I couldn't have full use of my arm. Then after that, I had to have jaw surgery, or the dentists were like, you're over 50 years old. And if you don't do this now that you've been avoiding since you're in high school, you're going to lose some of your teeth. Unreal. That wasn't good. So then I couldn't talk, right? Literally like cut my jaw this way down the middle. It was very sexy. And I was doing video marketing, so that had an impact. Then I get over that 9 days after I get my braces off, my colon ruptures. Okay. So that was a little bit life and death. Wow. So that's 5 years, right? So 5 years. So what happened and again, why did I start coaching? Well, how does this come together? Through that journey, there was a couple things that I was being very, very tested, right? How do I keep my business running? Thankfully, I had a CRM. Thankfully, I had good people, and I had to lean hard into them, right? And I had this, and I had a lot of leads, right? And I had a sales job, so I had already knew how to make a lot of money that I could pay for things, right? But as I went through the process of this through the years, I got to the other side, and I did an audit of all the leads that I thought were going to close, right? I'm like, what happened to all these leads that I'm like, we were here, and then, and then there's these fluctuations. What's going on? I thought I had all this set up. And so what I realized is that when I did my audit, we had left $3.2 million on the table. Oof. Okay. This is real money. Like, it's not like everybody went to the appointment and didn't show up, but these were people who had told us that they planned to buy and sell in the next 2 years, 1 year or sooner, expired, circle prospecting, for sale by owners, Sphere, et cetera, right? You go down the list. When we were at one point, we were 13 different lead sources, right? So what happened, right? And I watched in that journey of 5 years, I watched all the time suck. Like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? What did I say last time? Where are they in the cycle? And all of these things that we thought I had it all mapped out, that humans psychologically, physically, time management still struggled with. And so when I got on the other side of this health journey, I had started using a software. I'm just going to tell you the software. It's KB Core. I left my own CRM. I watched it grow, and I had tested I've used pretty much all of them that existed as of 2017, 18. And I was like, I'm going to figure out how to never lose that much money again. And never going to do it. Yeah. And so I put my technology thinking hat on, and my 800, all my years of experience, and also my technology requirements, goals, process planning, and I put all those hats on, and I was like, I'm going to create a framework and all of the automation that allows me to not lose track, my team not lose track of these leads ever again.
Wow. Huge.
Right. And so then I did that, right? I created that. And, because I used to build in that other career, I built also enterprise-wide systems. I would help people take their business processes. We literally created the technology then, and then that people now use to run their companies. So I had that unique brain, right? Yeah, and then, and so then I was using it, and then I was sharing it with my business partners. And then they said, Kim, this is complicated. You should share this with the real estate community. You figured out how to do this. You're sharing it with us. You should share it with the agent community. And so that's why I did it. And that's what I'm doing now. So that's the first thing that I'm like, okay, I will figure out how to share this with the agent community.
Gosh. And so you had mentioned a lot in there, and I want to thank you first and foremost, Kim, for being vulnerable for a moment and sharing, the struggles of health and things just that hit you the way that it did, and the adage, when it rains, it pours, sort of scenario. That is definitely it. And what an inspiring journey that you've been through. And anybody out there who's watching or listening can attest to saying, oh my gosh, if they're feeling that they've had struggles or pain or sorrow, everybody goes through it in their own way. But it's not an excuse to stop. It's not an excuse to let you shift that way. You're a perfect example of just persevering and being consistent. It's amazing, Kim, first and foremost. You looking at it from a technical standpoint, really articulating and dialing in the things that are massively going to affect the growth in your business. That's a scary thing to think about. So many top producers, individuals, or mega teams, they go through that cycle where there is gold in them hills. And unfortunately, it's not properly mined. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in GCI that's just left. Thank you.
It's this real audited number. There's no inflation in that. Yeah.
But that's the honest truth. And once again, if anybody thinks that Kim is different for this, it has nothing to do with you. This happens more often than not. So the fact that you were able to identify that and then solve that problem is massive. You had mentioned KB Core. I'm a big fan personally. There's tons of CRMs that are out there. So obviously you got to use the one that's right for you and your business and your goals. But I guess let's talk about how you found KV Core. What was it about it? I mean, what, because you've seen so many, like you said, sub 17, 18. What really drew you to it?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely been through the historical ones, Agent Office, if you ever heard of that, Top Producers, the Boom Towns, and this by no means is to discredit any other CRM system. It is my journey. Everybody has their journey. So anybody that's listening, I just want to make sure that I share that, because I've worked with some very good systems. But the thing that I started working with KV Core in 2017. I went into when I left Century 21. At that stage, I'd done Remax for 12 years, C21 for like a couple years, and then I went to EXP in the end of 2017. And part of going there, they offered KV Core, right? It's now, that's what, five years ago. And so KV Core had just like switched from conversion, and it wasn't the KV Core it is today. Sure. Right. And so I had actually already built a CRM system on top of Infusionsoft and to solve what I wanted, what I needed, what I wasn't getting. And I actually, so I abandoned it because two things. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story and then tell you why I decided to jump all in, if you will, that, reflecting, and I don't share this with a lot of people. Okay. So now I'm sharing it with the public, but I started to share it and they're like, you know what, like, it is your story. It's your journey. Don't worry about it. But, when I had that great career in technology, and also a real estate career, I feel very blessed, right? I've been able to work in two of my passions, yet I also had this, I don't know if the right, excuse me, that I'm not Webster Dictionary, but if it's like an esteemed, or what's the word when you're like you're put up on this, like, it's not a pedestal like ego, but well regarded, like, innovative, technology, this and that, cutting edge, Kim Barber, this and that. Like, I was at this forefront. Sure. When I went into real estate, there was this reputation that I really wasn't aware of at the time about real estate agents. And I felt I had this mental struggle with watching my colleagues that I still remain friends with, like, I think 40% of the people that helped build that company became CEOs, right? Wow. And so they were doing like great things, and I still love that, right? And then I was over here, and I was like, did I leave too soon? So I had this is part of my journey, like that. And then that, like, should I go back into technology? Like, is the health thing telling me that I should be someplace else, right? Like, I'm not supposed to be in this career. Like, when you're living this kind of struggle, like you have a lot of time to be in your own head, right? But this was something that I struggled with, but also when I built that CRM, and I said, it screamed stop. So I kept praying for, like, how do I bring these two together? Like, how do I bring these two together? And then, and so when I got to the other end of it, and I was like, we're really blessed as real estate salespeople that we can make as much money as we can. Had I not been in this industry, because in technology, I wasn't in control of all my income. Right. I wouldn't have been able to get out of a difficult divorce. I wouldn't have been able to pay a massive amount of out-of-pocket medical expenses and be on the other side and still, doing well in my life. Right. And so then I saw this technology thing with KV Core evolve. Right. And then I had a calling that said, you need to fix this problem. Look how big this problem was. Right. If you're on the path to do $1 million a year and things aren't closing, it's not easy to see. If you're down and out hard for 3 years, that's 3 million quickly, right? Yeah. And so, so I was just in this mental journey of like, where am I supposed to be in my life? Is this another place I'm supposed to pivot? And then I stopped, and I was at my girlfriend's house, and literally I looked at her and I said, what? I just realized, like, I am supposed to be in real estate. It did allow me to buy a bunch of homes. It did allow me to have this amazing lifestyle. It allowed me to get through this difficult career, but it also allowed me to get to a place that now I also see that there's a technology that I don't want to keep building, this technology that I already am running on. This technology I can manipulate, and this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to bring these together, right? And then had I not gone through my health battles, had I not taken a step back and felt the pain of all of that journey, like financially and physically, that put me back in my seat. I told you it screamed at me not to do it. I wouldn't have seen the pitfalls, right? I wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? I didn't get upset about it. I just was like, I know there's a reason for it. And that's what I believe is the reason. And so, so with KV Core, as it evolved, it was the one software that allowed you to really get control of how to categorize your leads and how to create automation in ways that could replicate a true real estate life cycle of leads and career. Like none of the other ones would let you do it. And I don't want to drop those names out, but I've used some of the big ones, you know what I mean? And, you know, and I've talked with Greer Allen and all these other people, you know, that were like, come work with us. And I just, at that time, I couldn't do it. So with KV Core, that's what I liked. I was familiar with things like Salesforce and other industry leaders outside of real estate. And then they kept adding all of the lead generation and all of that. And then they matured some tweaks of the product. But that's why I stayed, is I was like, I can replicate what a professional real estate agent does to manage long-term leads with that software. Because that's really where the fortune is. It's not like in the quick, very expensive Zillow leads that we can buy or whatever. It's in the long-term follow-up. And the only way to replicate it was to have this automation be able to happen, or money leaks out, you know, or you lose all your time or whatever. It's the way it is.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Kim. And that this is not a plug for KV Core, and it's not a downgrade to any other software that anybody else.
No, absolutely not.
Find the right one, but I will echo what you're saying. I have a lot of industry colleagues and buddies that are in different brokerages to EXP, but they opt in for KV Core specifically. Right. So it's not an EXP thing. We're talking CRM to CRM.
That's right.
Very, very robust.
Right.
You know, and so for somebody like you who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, really developed something special, and then found this to be able to take that onward, that's huge. That's a big testament to it. So in that passion and process in your journey, let's talk about the coaching aspect, Kim, because you bring so much knowledge, so much credibility and understanding of the transaction and the team building and human nature, and obviously growth and development for real estate professionals. So you going through what you went through and, you know, making that decision, what did that look like at the beginning, and where are we at now with the coaching and the mentoring, training, that sort of thing?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I've always been like a systems and a strategy person in my first career. Now I always, what they loved about me in my technology career is that I have a vision for the strategy, the big term goal, all the way down to like the Excel column. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just aware of that. That's something that I was hired for before, and something that I was able to produce again. And so the thing that I also realized, though, like being a systems and a strategy, and that's my mission. My mission is to help agents increase their success through proven systems and strategies. And there's a lot of systems and strategies out there. Just like the first product, if you will, is what I call my Boss Agent $1 Million Lead Follow-Up System. And it's really a framework, right? And so the thing that prompted me to go through was that I would see some of the options that other agents would have, right? And they're like, you have to figure out how to do this. And I'm like, well, I'm going to start with this first thing, right? I'm going to share this with the world. And if this is the only thing that I share, that's okay too. But that's something that I've been doing my whole life, right? And so the thing, though, that's about these CRMs that I'm very passionate about in my framework is that people just jump right into the technology, right? And that's, I don't want to say it's wrong, but I'm going to say it's wrong, for lack of a better way to say it, is that they're like, this technology is the magic pill, right? And I'm going to throw it over the fence and somebody else is going to do this for me. And but the technology is a piece of your overall business framework. And just, if I could coach somebody just to understand that, right? Like my strategy is going to be very different from somebody else's strategy, right? They're similar. We're selling real estate, right? There's a similar. But if somebody wants to sell 10, 20, 30 homes versus 150, that's a different strategy. That strategy has a different plan. That plan then has a different process, but the technology can be used inside of all of it. But that's the part that people need the coaching on. And then how do you manage the person that has 10 or 20 leads or 10 or 20 sales they want to do needs this many leads, the 100 and whatever needs this many leads.
Wow.
But I feel like there's people, we're ingrained in our real estate heads that say, and I don't know if I'm saying it right, but whatever, this is my language. It's that like, buy more leads, buy more leads, buy more leads, buy this technology, buy this technology, buy this technology. Like, this is going to solve your problem. And squirrel shiny penny syndrome, right? Yeah. And so I really want to help people understand that the technology, like you said, whatever CRM it's going to be, the framework is you still have to know what do you want to have at the end of the year? Like, what's the lifestyle you want? Do you need 10, 20 deals, 100 deals, right? And then how many leads do you need to get there, right? What I believe in, smarter, not harder. Can we focus on having a higher conversion of those leads and having a better lifestyle instead of doing what we're positioned to do, which is buy more leads, buy more leads.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have your plan and your process, and you use the technology to make that more efficient, right?
Yeah.
And then from that, now you have your strategy, your plan, your process, the technology, then you have your operation and you can scale, right? That's what I coach people to understand they do, because if you just have the technology, all these other pieces, they don't really work like they're supposed to.
Kim, I love how you broke that down. And I'm a big fan of the reverse engineer sort of standpoint, where it's, hey, right, what are your goals? What are your expectations? And then here are the actions and framework, blueprint, and then get to work. I mean, I love how you're breaking that down, but it's not a one size fits all. And you said that so well. And obviously anybody that's working with you and has been fortunate to be around you, obviously is reaping those rewards just through breaking that down in process. And I think that everybody's got to evaluate at the end of the day as to what is going to really help them grow and scale. Right. I know that just through some of the best and brightest minds in my life, and for myself personally, it's surrounding ourselves with people who are steps ahead, who have really been there, have perspective that can share action items that we can take and apply. It's not an easy button. It's not an elevator to the top. You still got to take the stairs, but it's so much clarity into that process instead of guessing. And then knowing the work that you put in is going to have an outcome that you're looking for. And I think that there's just a lot of floundering, and that's with any entrepreneur, but to have somebody like you in their life to really focus and hone in is massively important. But at the end of the day, you can, lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. I mean, that adage is there. You got to put the work in. That doesn't accelerate or change. With that standpoint though, Kim, what's the best way for anybody who's tuning in who, is really connecting with your story and yourself as a person and wanting to know more about that aspect, getting together with you, learning more, possibly joining the program? What's the best way to get them?
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Yeah. If you go to my website, I don't make it complicated, kimbarber.com, then you'll see the programs that I have right now. There's going to be more depending on when you're listening to it that are rolling out. So there's even lists to get on, like our boot camps that we're doing to help people, like, with their online brand, building out your website so that they could really stand out amongst the crowd. We're starting that one in February. But yeah, if you go to my website there, then you'll see our programs, you'll learn a little bit more about me. And then all my links for social, of course, are there too. So yeah.
Love that, Kim. So I'll say it again, kimbarber.com. We'll have that in the show notes too, Kim, so everybody can really dive in, get to know you a little bit more. And this has been fantastic. I do want to go into one more question, and you've dropped so much knowledge, so much information, really laying the foundation for everybody out there, myself included, to get to know you, which is fantastic. Yeah, but everybody tunes in to the Titans in addition to learn from the best and brightest, and really having some additional takeaways that they can apply to their business or to their lives, whatever perspective. So Kim, if you could look back at your career thus far, and pick or choose one or two things that you added or implemented that you really saw growth, really just accelerated the business, what would that be for you? What advice would you give to the audience?
Yeah, that is the challenge when I've had like all these different lessons
Yes.
in my life. I mean, and this is not a self plug at all, but, and I almost like hate saying it, but I'm going to say it, is that if I could have kept better track, right? I already shared that it cost $3.2 million, or it was an opportunity. I mean, that doesn't even count the fact that I couldn't work as hard. But if I could learn how many leads I needed, and this is a tactical answer, right?
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
There's going to be a lot of other answers that we could say, but if I could know, like when I was dumping 190 leads a month, that cost me on this certain time frame $300,000 ish on leads. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
it was too many. It was too many leads, and then on the other end, we didn't close as much. So if I could have pivoted, if I could have known this then, that having the wrong thing set up was going to cost me this much money, and I could have figured out how to keep track of these leads over time, because the average person is going to close in what, a year or two from the conversation that we actually have.
Sure.
That would have made a big financial and stress improvement for me, right? And so that's why I'm here, right? I'm not why I'm here. I mean, I'm here because God gave me more days. Yes. But that being said, like that is something that it just didn't exist, but somebody's listening now that I would just encourage to say, like, this is real. This is real money that we spend. This is our time that we spend that we don't get back. You know what I mean? Unless we keep track of them.
Yeah.
The other thing, and again, I'm trying to say things that are maybe like for me that really made a difference, is when I went through other times in the past and I was crushing my life, to be honest with you, working too hard, but I had a reason I had to do it. In 2013, I made my first vision board and I made my first dream board, and I do them every single year, and I coach other people how to do them. And it's one of my favorite times, but literally sat down and go, what do I want? I got back to ground zero. I paid the X off. I was done working all the extra hours. And I said, what do I want out of my life next? Right. And I literally like do the steps. Like I want the visions. Like I want to have a yacht that goes around the Caribbean for 2 years. I want to have at least 65 feet of it. And that's what I want to do. So I'm like, what do I want this year? And that in my bathroom, where I look at every single day, is my inspiration to keep going. I mean, I have to pay the food, I have to pay the bills, all that. But those two things set the stage for what I'm going to have in the future.
Oof. This is massive, Kim. And again, just breaking it and basing it down off of what you had said earlier, kind of looking at top line revenue and bottom line revenue,
right?
You knowing what you know now, giving the advice to anybody, know your numbers and look at it from a quality, not so much quantity standpoint, to really identify what's working, what's not, setting up systems in place to leverage that and to really have massive success. It's not necessarily what you make, it's what you keep.
That's
and
right.
Looking at that bottom line number, there's so many professionals that are, quote unquote, hitting these goals, but what are they actually spending to get there? And what are they bringing home? Some of the numbers are staggering. So I think bottom line is massive focus and looking at the follow-up and the systems.
Right.
Having a vision board is massive. And you somebody tuning in, vision boards. Look, do what you do, whatever motivates you and goes through. But I know that when you talk about speaking something into existence and really focusing and putting yourself in an environment, if you can't dream it, you're never going to be able to accomplish it. If you can't think about it and at least process it some way, somehow, how are you ever going to reach that goal? It's kind of like shooting, blind. So I think that's massively important to anybody out there who's looking for that. And again, this is from Kim, who's been there. I mean, you brought us back to 13 in that standpoint. So, we're in 2023 now. If you're watching this later, January 17th of 2023. So there's lots to be reflected on and applied there, Kim. Ultimately, I know that you're just scratching the surface of information that you're here, because again, this episode is almost an hour at this point, which is awesome. And I love that. But we can only fit so much in a short period of time. I would encourage everybody out there who's tuning in, if anything stuck out to you, really follow Kim, go to the website,
Thank you.
Take a look, see
Yeah.
what's going on. I think that it's crucially important to surround yourself with great people and understand and learn from people who've been there, done that. Bought
Yeah.
the t-shirt, as we always say
That's
here in
right.
Titans. But Kim, I can't thank you enough for taking the
Thank
time.
you.
You have been incredible. This has just been such a pleasure, again, getting to know you and just sharing your knowledge. It's been an honor, so I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Greg. And hopefully anybody that's listening, it's helped you too. Like, I'm here to help people out. And, it's a huge range from new agents to somebody that's like this one person, I'll leave it at this, said they won the prize. They're like, I have 54,416 leads. How do I fix this? And I'm like, all right, we have to have a one-on-one chat.
Reach out to Kim. That's how you fix it.
That's right. That's how you fix it. That's how you fix it. We need to have a conversation about how you're not going to do that again.
Oh, I love this, Kim. Kim,
Yeah.
Thanks again. And I do want to dub you an official real estate titan. That is
Thank
an
you.
honor for you forever. No one can ever take it away. It's a badge of honor. I always say there's no trophies or plaques, but it's in your heart. And again, I can't thank you enough. Thank you, everybody out there, as always, for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like here or doing Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like and subscribe. You all know what to do at this point. I appreciate it. We do have to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lionbolt Media. If you are a real estate professional looking to grow and scale your digital business, marketing, branding, and associated for lead generation and conversion, look and visit lionboltmedia.com. We're live here every Tuesday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Kim.
All right. Thank you. All right.